Hey Jordan, opinions on Athlean-X. I do not think that he mixes science with anything. Pseudoscience. Bullshittery.
What's up guys, Alec and Enkiri here, and I've got a bit of a treat for you guys today. As many of you are aware, according to the Athlean-X Trinity of Bodyguards, also known as the Three Stooges, I have no credentials.
Okay, let's take a quick look at the credentials. Not exactly compelling.
You didn't stay in your motherfucking lane, bitch. Your lane, way the fuck over there, being stupid with all the other fucking stupid people. This lane, not for you. This lane's for the fucking smart, actually qualified people, bitch.
Therefore, I'm simply unallowed to critique someone of the credentialized stature of Jeff Cavaliere of Athlean-X.com. According to the Stooges, my words cannot possibly hold any validity as they pertain to Athlean-X because I'm just a dumb, uneducated meathead who cannot possibly comprehend the weight of the words that Jeff Cavaliere bestows upon us all. The breadth and the depth and the nuance of Jeff's methods and techniques are so far above and beyond me that my words are merely a faint echo, calling out into the infinite darkness of the universe, an echo that is long dispersed before it could possibly ever encroach upon someone of the stature of Jeff Cavaliere. Fortunately, however, I have friends, and my friends have friends, and some of those friends happen to be just as formally credentialized, if not more so, than our buddy Jeff Cavaliere of Athlean-X.com. Now, I wonder if these people of equal or greater educational stature, are allowed to critique Jeff Cavaliere, or if the Stooges would have a problem with that too. Now, this is not the person I'll be featuring today, but to get the ball rolling, I showed you guys a little snippet of Jordan Feigenbaum in the intro. Jordan is one of the founders of barbell medicine, and his laundry list of formalized credentials far outweighs Jeff's, as does his practical experience under the bar, and his dislike of Jeff's methods pretty much across the board is pretty well known at this point.
Can you explain your disagreements with Athlean-X for the... I mean, look, I've been avoiding your question because it's annoying and who cares, right? So Athlean-X is huge into nocebos. He is very reductionist when it comes to injuries or injury risk reduction, although he doesn't actually know what that phrase means because he just says prevents injuries, which is shenanigans. Yeah, very biomedical model based. His training advice is junk, not based in evidence, and so yeah, for all those reasons and more, I would not recommend getting information from him because there are other people with better information out there who are giving it away for free.
So here we have a marriage between a high degree of education and true practical experience with real weights under the barbell and in the realms of strength coaching for the general population and all the considerations that entails. And the analysis from this individual seems to be abundantly clear. He does not believe that the synopsis of the big picture message preached on the Athlean-X channel is one worth listening to. So that's strike number one from the highly credentialized king. And today I want to introduce another guy who's been both in the trenches of strength coaching for many years, as well as received a high level of formalized education on the same subject. His name is Derek Wilcox. Derek is a former world record holder in powerlifting who holds a PhD in Sport Physiology and Performance with a master's in kinesiology and sports performance. He's competed in Olympic lifting, strongman, the Highland Games, and powerlifting at a very high level, so that's pretty much every strength sport that there is. He has coached professional athletes from a range of different sports, and for the last 6 years, he has worked as a coach with Renaissance Periodization, who you can find right here on YouTube. So Derek basically has it all when it comes to strength coaching. He's basically a motherfucking doctor of strength and conditioning, and he has the numbers, the practical experience, and the education to back it all up. Well, Derek recently sat down with my friend Dennis Arnold, aka Freaky D, and they had a nice productive chat about the recent goings on in the fitness community involving Athlean-X. And Derek felt that it was his moral ethical, and professional obligation to step up and say something, anything, just to make it known that a lot of the information that's been published by Jeff Cavaliere that has gone unchecked and unquestioned for so long needs to be given a second, more discerning look, as some of it is not just suboptimal as far as strength and conditioning training outcomes are concerned, but some of it is also potentially very dangerous. And by the end of this conversation, you're going to start to see a pretty familiar picture being painted, one that indicates that in spite of his consistent claims, Athlean-X is not a strength coach. He is a therapist and maybe even a pseudo bodybuilder masquerading as a strength and performance coach. I said this a year ago. People didn't like it at the time, but recent events have brought it out into the forefront of the community once again. And the message is starting to resonate now. And today, Athlean-X gets strike number 2 from someone who is higher on the credentials totem pole than he is. So you don't have to take my word for it anymore, but the credentials argument, and yes, I'm looking at you guys, Three Stooges, is bunk. The people in the trenches with credentials are starting to speak up now too, because some of this information that he has published is simply nothing but dangerous misinformation that sets the profession back by leaps and bounds and needs to be combated against and spoken up against. And today, Derek Wilcox, PhD, steps up and does his part, and I hope you guys enjoy the video.
What's up, guys? First, I want to thank Alec for letting me host this video on his channel. Alec pretty well got the ball rolling for this whole Athlean-X gate thing that we're going through now. So thanks for having me on here. You know, given that it's pretty well agreed upon now that the weights he was using were fake, those are not legitimate lifts. However, a lot of the nasty comments I've been seeing directed at myself and others calling this out are that we do not have the credentials or resumes to be critiquing somebody like Jeff. So I figured I would get somebody who had just a little bit of credentials. So if you would ever so briefly, Mr. Dr. Derek Wilcox, list your credentials for us.
Oh, well, I have a PhD from East Tennessee State University, which is a sports science program, in physiology and sport performance. My master's degree was in kinesiology and sport performance, and I got my undergrad at Appalachian State. I was the supervisor for all off-campus strength conditioning programs that our grad program ran over at Milligan College and King College. And I've been a coach with Renaissance Periodization, working with one-on-one clients since 2014, so 6 years. And through those avenues and then my personal training avenues over the years as well, I've worked with thousands of clients, one-on-one or by group, like in the athletics departments for different schools. So I've worked with a few people and seen a lot of things. My competitive history was primarily in powerlifting, at least what I focused on. And I competed for 15 years, and 10 of those were in the professional ranks. I was fortunate enough to break an all-time world record in the squat in 2011 in the 181-pound class, 935 pounds in this multiply suit right here. That was since broken, and the only current claim that I have that's still valid is I'm the smallest person to ever squat 1,000 pounds in the history of powerlifting, regardless of raw, equipped, whatever. I've competed in weightlifting, qualified for the American Open in that, and strongman, definitely not tall enough to go very far. Strongman, more about 5'6", 5'7". But I've thrown in the Highland Games for a little over 10 years as well. So I've got a lot of education and book learnings, as some folks call it. And
We are in East Tennessee.
Yeah. And hopefully good practical experience as well, working with people and then pushing myself to those limits as well.
And now you've worked with professional athletes, NHRA race car drivers,
Yes.
WWE superstars.
Yeah, I've gone through many different avenues, applying the principles of sports science that we learned in our grad program, because they end up being pretty universal.
Right. So you've not only done these things with yourself, but with others, and to a high degree of success.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Okay, so now Derek, and along with having all of these credentials and working with professional athletes. For some reason, he watches my YouTube channel because he's a really swell guy. But he saw my video about Athlean-X. He messaged me and we had a little private chit chat about it. And he felt both ethically and morally obligated to speak on it. So if you would like to elaborate on those issues a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. As far as ethics and morals go, social media is a really, really tough platform to be on, whether you're putting content out or absorbing it in. And we're never ever going to put an image or a picture or video, whatever, that makes us look bad.
Right.
We're always projecting the very best possible version of ourselves onto social media.
Certainly.
So especially younger folks now, when they've never not known this kind of world, they're going to see that and think, okay, well, that's normal. That's the standard.
Right.
And when you're trying to stack yourself up to that kind of crazy standard where you're only seeing the absolute best moments of someone else's life, professionally or personally, that gets incredibly stressful because you never feel like you can stack up or amount to anything compared to that.
Go to a powerlifting meet. Go to a local meet.
Absolutely.
Everybody's not squatting 900 pounds.
Right. It's extremely, extremely rare, even though those videos are shared everywhere.
Right.
You see it constantly. So people get kind of diluted ideas of what actually is going on in real life. And unfortunately, when people like Jeff are using fake weights in their demonstration videos or doing whatever they're doing, they're pushing that issue to the max, and they're actually making it much, much worse. So somebody that stays as lean as he does all the time, 24/7, stage ready, great for him. Congratulations to him. But when you're doing that and then adding 180 pounds of supposed weight from 4 fake 45-pound plates on multiple lifts, bench press, deadlift, whatever he's doing, he's only creating that much more of a problem for people watching that. He may not claim that it's any specific weight on his videos. I don't know, because I've only seen so many of his different videos.
Oh, he does, though.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
If he's directly lying about that, it makes it 10 times worse.
But yeah.
I've seen the argument that he was saying it was just for demonstration purposes.
Other people were saying it was just
Okay.
for demonstration, but he definitely announced the weights that were
Gotcha.
allegedly on the bar.
Well, that is a level of ethical and moral corruptness that is terrible, because he's making money off projecting that kind of image. And when you do that as a professional, you're creating terrible things as far as people's mindset and psychology, because they're never going to be able to add up to that. Someone his size benching 315 on a pin press with 180 pounds less weight than is actually on the bar, thereabouts. You're presenting this image that people aren't going to be able to live up to. And when they finally give up on themselves because they're not able to keep up with that kind of performance or whatever he's doing, they think, well, what's the point? You know what I mean?
Right.
So in that way, he's doing great disservice to everyone that watches his videos and things like that, whether his advice is good or not. Some of it is, some of it isn't.
Certainly.
A lot of the things I've seen, I haven't seen a ton, but breathing out before you go down for a squat.
Now do it the way I'm showing you here. Breathe out and tighten down. Contract your abs forcefully. Be conscious of how hard you're contracting your abs. Make sure that you've expelled the air.
That is exactly what you would do if you wanted to get someone hurt.
Right.
Anybody who's ever lifted a heavy weight, ever. You go to a powerlifting meet and ask, so how much are you breathing out before you go down on that heavy squat? They're going to look at you like you've got 5 heads.
Right.
But somebody will actually be there, because most people are really nice in real life.
Very.
Yeah, and they would actually try to help you because you would be very misunderstood.
Right.
But when he puts out information like that, one, it gives away to anybody that's got much experience at all that he's never actually lifted a really heavy weight in his life.
Right.
Because the results of that are injury, or you're just going to miss terribly.
Right.
And then aside from that, he's putting out such bad misinformation that's going to get people hurt that, I mean, I don't even know you can look at yourself in the mirror after that point.
Right. That was my biggest takeaway too. Getting hurt is terrible. Being injured sucks, and then profiting off people based on false information, that doesn't sit right with me. That's why I felt the need to put a video out there. I don't get too into the YouTube drama anymore, but I couldn't not say something about this, and that's the same thing Derek told me after he saw my video and we talked. He felt obligated to say something about it.
Right. As a professional in the industry, coaching is always clients first. Even in our sports science program, we talk about the HIPAA oath and all the things that go with that. Rule number 1 is do no harm. And especially someone who has a doctorate in physical therapy
Right.
and a master's along the same thing, he's bound by HIPAA,
Right.
at least professionally. And rule number 1, do no harm. And with at the very least, those 2 issues is going to do a lot of harm.
Right. And he's intelligent enough that he knows what he's doing.
Absolutely, yeah. If this was somebody with an IG channel or a YouTube channel that had no idea what they were doing and they were just ignorant, and they didn't know any better, that'd be completely different, because you
Right.
could try to help them and then they would recant at some point. But he is definitely smart enough to know exactly what he's doing and understand where his limits are and not. That Dunning-Kruger scale where you have the ascending,
Yes, certainly.
the ascending confidence,
Right.
and you start learning a little bit, you start understanding what you don't know.
Right.
But when your confidence is at the highest, you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
He knows.
He definitely
And that's
knows.
why he gets no pass whatsoever about this.
Absolutely. Now the ethic and moral part, again, we both felt compelled to speak on it. Is there anything else you've seen from Jeff? I know you coach a lot of people, and you mentioned to me that sometimes when they go searching on YouTube for demonstrations, a lot of times his videos will pop up. That anything you've seen in those videos that kind of rubs you the wrong way?
Well, like I mentioned before, there are a lot of things that he says that really give away that he has a massive lack of experience as far as lifting heavy weight.
Right.
Bracing incorrectly, putting yourself into different positions incorrectly to be able to support a load that's on your shoulders, or whether it's on bench press or whatever. The fact that he doesn't purport full range of motion lifts very much. Talks about bench pressing halfway and going back up. Those things are all going to lead you to injury. As a person that's in physical therapy himself, a lot of their techniques and the things that they learn are, short range of motion, very slow and controlled movements, and I can see where he can get that influence from.
Right.
But that's for an unhealthy population with an appendage that is damaged.
Right.
For healthy individuals, you need that full range of motion to maintain joint health, to maintain that muscle health, all those things. And when he gets those messages crossed up, you start having people lifting very light, very
Right.
slowly, and there's not enough stimulus there to create that muscle adaptation that you want as far as muscle gains and getting leaner and burning calories and things like that.
Not really the mentality of a strength and conditioning coach, regardless of what he may preach. In practice, he's overly concerned with specific muscles and their specific actions rather than training, perfecting, and progressively loading key movement patterns, which is really the foundation of what strength and conditioning is as a profession. I'm not saying that his advice is bad overall. I'm just saying that it's been misrepresented as to what it actually is. There's a reason we have both strength coaches and physical therapists, and that they exist as independent professions that cohabitate together pretty fucking well. They almost act as a yin and a yang, keeping things in perfect balance. Well, Jeff's advice is mostly rooted in therapy and maintaining balance in the body, not putting undue stress on soft tissues, keeping joints healthy, fixing common problem areas, etc. But the majority of his advice, I'm talking like 80 or even 90% of it, is not going to help you become stronger or more powerful or more athletic, because it's just a different wheelhouse.
So whether he's doing it intentionally or not, the misinformation is definitely there, and I've had to correct tons and tons of people
Right.
that had goals that were legitimate and trying to use illegitimate means to get there, and that's why they end up coming to me and usually having much better time.
And that's the thing too. I know a lot of people are going to go crazy in the comments saying, "Well, he's a PT, he's not a strength coach, and that's not his wheelhouse," and blah blah blah. But the thing is, he's putting out videos how to squat, do this for your squat, how to deadlift, and when people search how to perform an exercise, his stuff is coming up, and it's targeted to people who are wanting to know how to deadlift, how to squat, how to bench press, healthy people. So the whole, he's a PT and that's what he does, that's not an excuse in this specific scenario.
Absolutely. Talking about breathing out before you go for a heavy squat.
Oh my gosh.
That's literally, if you wanted to hurt someone, that's what you would tell them to do.
Right.
And with I mean, that's literally right akin to, if you're going to deadlift, the first thing you want to do is turn your head to the side and jerk as quickly as possible with a big twisting movement. You know what I mean? And with your butt way up in the air.
Right.
It's right next to that kind of advice.
Right.
So it's the ethical issues that he's got and the things that I've seen him report as far as good technique and the right ideas, breathing techniques, all that. Some of it's good. So,
And you know, none of the channels I've seen have said that Jeff is terrible 100%,
right,
and you know needs to be gone from the earth because he's so bad. There's certainly good advice to be had from his channel, but the main people who watch the fitness community as a whole are healthy young males looking to get strong.
right.
Any final closing thoughts, or you?
Well, as coaches in this industry who consider ourselves professionals, you have to pay attention to those ethical and moral dilemmas. You can't go out putting out information that you yourself are actually ignorant of. You have to, it sounds bad, you need to stay in your lane.
Right.
You didn't stay in your motherfucking lane, bitch.
Talk about what you know and admit that you don't know things that you don't know about. With Jeff, he just needs to do the latter. Leave those things alone. You don't have to speak on everything. There are people out there who have been masters of their craft in different areas. Let them be masters. Just because you learn a little bit about a certain aspect of what your profession is, doesn't mean you're qualified to talk on it. So, and when you're trying to give people advice based on that, that's when you really run into issues, because they can end up hurting themselves or wasting a ton of their time or things like that. And I don't know how you can actually look yourself in the mirror if you're purporting that much misinformation, fake weights, advice on things you're actually not very good at and don't have much experience on. And it's just a big snowball effect, and something needs to be said about it, and that's what we're doing here.
That's it. Something needs to be said. It's been said, and it's now been said by somebody with credentials. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Alec, for letting me host the video. There will be links to Derek's social media, Instagram, his YouTube, etc., how to get in touch with him if you would like for him to coach you. It will all be in the description. Thanks, guys.